I might just have to hold it like an influencer. Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see familiar faces and also new people here. Before we get into the presentation, I just want to take a moment to introduce ourselves who worked on this presentation. My name is Nikki. Contrary to belief, I'm not just a photographer here, so I do work here. I'm the head of endpoint testing team.
Hi guys, my name is Daniel. I'm a security analyst and I'm part of the same team as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Cameron and I'm also a security analyst, part of the endpoint testing team.
So, between all of us, we've worked on this presentation. So, with that, let's get into it. This is our presentation. Is it really possible to test macOS? Let me just get this. So, just a quick run through what we're going to be covering today. We'll start with where this all began, with SE Labs. Then I'll look at what the wider industry has been saying about the Mac threat landscape over the past year or so. And then after that, I'll hand it to Daniel, who then run through some more specifics on who's targeting macOS, specific APT groups and what they're known for. And then he'll hand it off to Cameron, who will then speak about, what is macOS integrated security, what Apple ships by default, and then go into the antivirus question, covering both sides of the argument. Do we actually need it? Yeah. And then I'll round it off at the end with where we're heading next with SE Labs, with the testing on macOS, and a few key takeaways from the presentation, and obviously a Q&A. So, where did it all start for SE Labs? So this is our first public macOS endpoint protection test that we did back in 2025. We weren't trying to make a point. We generally just wanted to know the answer. Is macOS actually as secure as people assume? As we've been led to be for the past 20 years, Mac should be safe because it's just Mac and everything's always targeting Windows. But as of recently, we'll show you recently that it isn't the same. So within this test, we kept it simple. We did 3 different environments. One used the same threats, one with a default macOS security, a second environment with a free AV product to have real-time protection, and then lastly, a Mac native AV built specifically for the platform. From this test, well, not what we expected in the end. 2 of the 3 detected absolutely nothing, and the one that caught everything, as you probably guess, would be the one that was built natively for Mac. I won't be going too much detail about the test, this test itself, but Cameron will provide some context about the findings throughout that test. But from that test, well, it did ask us a bigger question. If we're seeing this, what is the wider industry seeing? Are Mac devices actually being targeted? Which leads me to this. The days of macOS not being targeted are over, and you don't have to take our word for it. Every one of these publications came out in the past year or so, or 2, and they all arrive at the same conclusion independently. Sophos reported earlier this year that Amos, Atomic macOS stealer, accounted for almost 40% of their macOS protection updates in 2025, more than double than any other macOS malware family. For context, Amos is designed to silently steal credentials, cookies, autofill data, and cryptocurrency wallets. They send it back to the threat actor, who then use it for themselves or sell it to criminal marketplaces. Secondly, we have another report from Microsoft's own threat intelligence team published about a North Korean threat actor called Sapphire Sleep. They're personally legitimate software, updates to trick users into running malicious files, again, stealing passwords, crypto assets, and personal data while bypassing macOS built-in security checks entirely. It's not just nation states. Infant stealers built specifically macOS, Atomic Stealer, Banshee, Poseidon, are being sold as a service. Anyone who has malicious intent can purchase these tools and use it for anything. This isn't a niche problem anymore, with enterprises adopting Mac devices, developers, designers, marketing teams, executives. This just further grows the attack surface for malicious actors. The question of whether Macs are hack-proof has been answered. The question of whether macOS is a target is now quite evident. They absolutely are. The question now is that we want to ask is whether the products claiming to provide protection actually do. So I'm going to hand this over to Daniel to go into a bit more specifics.
As you might know, many people still assume that attackers don't attack macOS devices. However, that's not the case anymore. Modern threat actors are looking for new ways and new methods to create malware specifically created for these macOS devices. These attacks aim to steal credentials, get remote access, steal sensitive data, and maintain persistence on the victim's device. A major point found on the SE Labs report is that attackers were able to bypass these macOS integrated security through targeted attacks, mainly through phishing and malicious app execution. This demonstrates that built-in protection is often not enough against skilled attackers. Social engineering is the most popular method used by attackers to breach Mac computers. Phishing emails, fake software updates, and malicious downloads can lead users to install malware. Once performed, attackers frequently try to steal important login credentials, install persistent programs such as launch agents or launch daemons, and then exfiltrate the data. Advanced Persistent Threat Groups, also known as APT groups, actively target macOS systems. These are highly skilled attackers frequently associated with nation-state missions or cybercrime groups. Their objectives include espionage, money theft, credential theft, and maintaining long-term access to business environments. Some groups have specifically developed malware that works on modern macOS devices, including Apple Silicon devices. One major example is the Lazarus Group, a North Korean threat actor known for attacking both Windows and macOS users. They commonly use fake job offers or phishing emails to trick victims into opening malicious files. Once the victim runs the file, the malware is installed, it corrupts the whole computer, and can steal credentials, access cryptocurrency wallets, and maintain remote access. What makes these attacks dangerous is that they often look legitimate enough to the user to execute, and it means that this attack bypasses technical security such as AVs and endpoint protection by exploiting the human trust. Another major threat actor that has targeted macOS systems is APT28, also known as Fancy Bear. This organization is linked to Russian cyber espionage and has targeted journalists, researchers, government agencies, and defense groups as well, such as military contractors and organizations connected to NATO. Their attacks usually start through phishing emails that contain malicious documents or fake login pages designed to steal credentials. Once access is gained, the attacker uses malware to monitor user activity, steal files, and keep long-term access without being detected. This is important because it demonstrates that advanced espionage groups don't disregard macOS devices. If a device has valuable information, it becomes a target instantly. Last but not least, Blue Narov is another cybercrime group linked to North Korean attacks, but they mainly focus on financial and cryptocurrency attacks. They target Mac users through fake programs such as counterfeit trading apps or fake cryptocurrency wallets and malicious downloads that appear legitimate. Once installed, the malware can steal browser passwords, cryptocurrency wallets, and Apple data from the victim's Mac device. These attacks show that modern macOS attacks are heavily focused on credential and financial theft. And now I'd like to give the word to my colleague Cameron.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's talk about Apple's built-in defenses. If you visit Apple's security page, the prominent headline reads, "Security built right in." While Apple heavily implies that the platform is entirely secure out of the box, the reality of modern threat landscapes tells a very different story. macOS does have reputable integrated baseline tools. Gatekeeper ensures that apps are verified. System Integrity Protection, or SIP, keeps the system data separate from the user data. Even a user with administrative privileges shouldn't be able to modify system-critical files. XProtect scans for known malicious signatures, and the malware removal tool, also known as XProtect Remediator, works in the background and monitors for any malware. Mac have also included a native firewall, but critically it is turned off by default. While many people believe Macs don't get hit by malware because Windows PCs face a vastly larger volume of general threats, targeted attacks is where the real danger lies for Mac users. To test this, our team at SE Labs executed 11 advanced, realistic targeted attacks against macOS with the default settings turned on and the firewall enabled. The results were eye-opening. macOS failed to protect against or detect a single attack. It received a negative 125% protection accuracy rating because testers were able to deliver malware, execute code, gain remote control, escalate system privileges, steal data, and encrypt files completely unhindered. This proves that while native security handles basic established threats, it simply cannot stop a skilled attacker using customized exploits. This brings us to the core question of our report. Do you actually need an antivirus on a Mac to stop targeted attacks? Many people actively avoid installing third-party endpoint security. Why? Because of common user pain points. People worry about performance overheads slowing down their machines. They get frustrated by aggressive upgrade prompts from free software, or they fall back on a false sense of security, believing Apple's platform is immune. However, our testing shows that a reputable third-party solution is absolutely necessary to defend against skilled hackers. But you have to be incredibly careful about which product you choose, because marketing claims can be highly misleading. Take Total AV free antivirus, for example. Their website clearly states that a free version includes real-time antivirus to block threats before they infect your system. Yet, in our live testing, it performed poorly and failed to protect against a single attack as it occurred. It did absolutely nothing to stop us from gaining remote access and causing severe damage. The software only detected the threats after the attacks were completely finished, and only because we manually initiated a system scan. As a security lab, we have to point out that there is almost zero value in detecting the remnants of an attack after your data has already been stolen or encrypted. On the flip side, premium solutions with true active real-time protection show what is possible. Intego Mac Internet Security intercepted the threats at the very front line, stopping the attacks at the delivery or initial execution stage, thus earning a 98% protection accuracy rating. The idea that macOS doesn't need protection is a dangerous myth. To stay safe from modern targeted threats, you must use a reputable anti-malware solution, and you must verify that true real-time protection is actively running. I'd now like to hand back over to Nikki to continue the rest of the presentation.
Okay, so where is this next for SE Labs? So we have a macOS comparative endpoint protection test happening soon. If you were down that side, obviously pictures right there. We have all our Mac minis right there ready to be set up and be properly tested. Based on everything we discussed today, we're currently getting ready for this. So we're trying to finalize the 5 or 6 products that we're going to be doing for the comparative test. And it'll be very similar to the very first test that we did. So full report will be published later this year. So yeah, look forward to it. So bringing all together, the key takeaways. Macs are no longer ignored by attackers. They are now actively targeted by APT groups and cyber criminals alike, and that shift has been well documented across the industry. macOS is a high-value target for actors are investing heavily in Mac-specific tooling. Built-in protection is insufficient. XProtect and Gatekeeper are better than nothing and provide a base level of hygiene. But they were never designed to stop targeted, novel, or fileless attacks. The examples we looked at today show that attackers can successfully steal credentials and maintain across macOS system even with default protection in place. And then finally, on real-time protection. Several vendors will market macOS with real-time protection, and we have no doubt that many are working hard to deliver it. Obviously, I've mentioned before in the previous presentations, but here at SE Labs, our philosophy is simple. We work with vendors, not against them. So it's not this upcoming test is not to prove that these AV products are not great, and if they were, we would provide them with the data they need, and so on to help improve them. But this will help the hopes that protection holds up in practice and help raise the bar across the industry. That is our presentation on Mac.